Can I read it? I want to read it. What's it say? I don't know if I can read it. Damn it. I hope they get your forehead as your. I hope they, no one was online to see that. Damn it. Get booked
Yeah,
with
but
James Patterson on forward. Awesome. Return George George what? And they better not get that as my thing. Lunch with okay. Who the hell are some of these people?
oh, George Lucas.
Oh,
He has
George
all kinds of time as well as money on his hands. So
email. Yeah, but who's lunch with oh,
JK.
JK? Okay, so it's a little blurry, but yeah, I'm figuring out. Lunch with JK. So everybody, the four of you who are on here, I was harassing Craig earlier one time about having something on like my board back here that, just bullshit stuff. And so he actually did that. And I was reading some of them, get with James Patterson on the forward, return George Lucas's
Phone
email,
call.
call, and then lunch with
Yeah.
JK question mark. I'm sure she's going to do that. She's known for doing that type of stuff.
Well, yeah, just random lunches and stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when our paths cross, they will at some major award ceremony or something. I mean, the Oscars, who knows what?
Oscars, sure. That'll
So
work.
here we are. We got some questions. I'm coming to you live from the Arctic Circle. It's 7:30 in the morning, and it looks like midday. It's light at 3 now, and give it another week and a half, and it'll be light. I think we hit our 70 days straight of 24 hours of daylight.
How do you go to sleep?
Blackout curtains and tired. I could probably go to sleep right now if I lay down.
But the blackout curtains, I mean, that's not as the same as this. How dark do they make it?
Dark enough. And if you really need it darker, you put foil on the windows. But then when it gets if it gets hot, like 70 degrees, then you got to open the windows. So
okay.
But foil is the master sun blocker.
Okay. The cheap, easy field expedient.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Well, now we have 14 people, so we probably need to actually start working.
You need to start. I can't believe you're goofing off still. Oh my God.
Don't get me started. All right, so the question of the day is, Mr. Martelle.
Where are you?
Oh.
Before we get to the question of the day.
Really? It's never about me. It's only about you. I am presently the cave in the sky, my condo in Las Vegas. I'm a few feet from the Las Vegas Strip. Well, it's kind of like it's a brand new type of street. Las Vegas Strip. It's a very pleasant. Let's see here. Why do you do the math, man? You always screw me up with this.
89 degrees.
Yeah,
feels like spring.
I've been told a few people like it's really hot this year. It's usually not this hot this late. And I'm like, oh, great. Why can't it be? Wow, it's usually not this cool this year. It was really great a couple of times. Spring is interesting here in Vegas. It actually has one to speak of, so I was shocked. It's not that many days of the year so far, but very pleasant outside at night.
Indeed, yeah, I do like the evenings in Vegas. It's nice to be out and around. It's warm. You're wearing shorts and a t-shirt and sweating your balls off, and it's still really nice. I didn't say fuck though.
And this is why we're not a podcast.
This is why it's not a podcast. It's not on iTunes, and we're not public people because we can't be trusted
out in public.
So the questions we did get some questions. Some were pretty narrow, but this one here is a question. Especially, I think Michael Anderle is one of the few human beings in the whole of the world who has a significant amount of experience on this in right now. I would love to hear more about how to build an interconnected world with different entry points for new readers, how to balance series readers with new readers, some tips on how to market book ones in the new series, make them accessible to new readers while pushing world development forward. Michael Anderle's Cartharian Gambit universe is a rather significant effort. He built the world as he went, not like J.R.R. Tolkien, who built the entire world to include like 75 different languages before actually writing the book. So Michael went around about it a little bit different way, but then the big key, he wrote his books and saw that he wasn't satisfying reader demand, and said, I need to expand this world. I need to expand this world. We need different series because I'm writing the main series, but there's these tendrils. So, Michael, building your world, building an interconnected world. Talk about that first.
All right, so I'm going to step back just a little because I can't help myself and ask, why are you doing it? You know, what I've seen when I came out in 2015 in Arthurian Gambit, and I made it really big in 2016, and then 2017 was a huge year of collaborations, and in the 20 Books Vegas in 2017, kind of following that model of collaborative worlds, collaborative authors was the big thing at that time, and people were following it. Well, there's been some burnt out individuals, let's say, since then. And they realize that doing this is not easy whatsoever. And there's different types of reasons to do it. And so what I would caution is just ask, is it because you have a world that is so huge that you're wanting to get it done faster? Is it because the fans are asking you for more, which was kind of my case? They were asking and asking. And then I realized that through some of my experiences, let's say, I figured fans were going to give me a hard time for doing it again. So, for example, in one of my books, and I think between book like 12 and 13 or something, I skipped 3 years. And the reason I skipped 3 years is because I felt they were going to be doing a lot of boring stuff, and I didn't really want to write about it. So I just said, hey, the people are off the planet. Nothing major is going on except maybe a few little, spy efforts or something that wouldn't really work for creating a whole book about it. And then, we're there. We're 3 years later. The fans kind of went nuts. I didn't realize that they would actually want what was going on in those 3 years. And so since then, we had to create some backfill stories in order to give some understanding to those 3 years. But more than that, I knew that I was coming up to a divergent point in the plot line of the stories where the major characters were going to take a gate and they're going to a new universe. They were not going to be coming back to Earth for hundreds of years. And if the fans freaked the frick out over 3 years, what the hell were they going to do for 150 years or 300 years? And that is actually kind of where Craig stepped into this, because that first 150 years was going to be a post-apocalyptic dystopian world of which I have zero desire to write. But the fans were going to want it. In fact, they were going to give me a lot of grief, and I just can't write that fast. I write decently fast, but I don't write that fast. And so that's when I reached out to Craig and said, hey, I understand, you have these skills, you have this desire, or at least willingness to do it. Would you be willing to come in and write? So that was one reason I did it, for a very particular part of the story. Another part is, people sometimes, so that was the collaboration. That was what was going on. It really wasn't to make Arthurian Gambit one of the biggest indie-driven universes, but in order to satisfy a need. If your need is not to satisfy the fans, recognize that you might be creating something in which there is not a good enough sales effort behind it, unless you just want to. So just give yourself the understanding, why am I doing this, before you go through it. So now that we've assumed that you've discovered the why and you've decided that, how can you do it? Well, one of the ways I did it, one of the more basic ones is just you take a character, a beloved character that people want to see more of, and you're not going to be writing more of it, and you hand it off to somebody else. That's just one way of doing it. Now, just here's the business caveat. In general, most series that you break off of something are not going to have the same amount of readership. Readers, for whatever reason, don't en masse go over to the second one. So you have, 5,000 people reading series one, you're not going to get 5,000 people to start series two. But what you might do is get a large enough chunk of your readers to catapult it into the awareness of others. And then now that particular series attracts a third type, a new to you type audience. And that is certainly one of the strategies that we've tried and we've employed over the years. So that's another reason to expand your audience or expand your universe. My first character is a female. That's what's on the cover. That's what's driving the books. Craig's first character is a male. So we actually, he's the primary. That character is the primary on Craig's books, although we did add his girlfriend, then his wife, realizing that so many of our readers were female that they might not be attracted to just a male-driven cover, or in general, they wouldn't. So it's something that we did. Now we have, even yesterday, someone said that they were attracted to the universe through a tertiary storyline. And it wasn't even one of the normal ones. It was one of the ones that we created way late in the series. And from there, they went back. We had a grouping called the Age of Magic in the storyline, where the etheric is considered more like magical energy. And in that series, in that age, if you will, there's always talking about the god and goddess. And what they've done is they've mistakenly attributed the main character in the core storyline, who by now has been gone 300 years, and her husband as being more deity-like. And that was obviously a mistake, but that curiosity of who is this, and when they talk about this goddess, it causes fans to go back to the first series to go figure out what happened. So allow a lot of curiosity about these characters going from series to series to get people to move across. They say curiosity killed the cat. Well, it'll also sell you books. So that's another one. Multiple entry points. Craig, I'm going to go ahead and stop now and let you take a moment.
Okay, handling multiple entry points, especially as the world grew. I wrote the main, the first main male protagonist, and we realized that wouldn't be able to carry that offshoot series. So yeah, we brought in the other and made them partners, and we tried to give them equal time. I even gave the female co-protagonist her own book at one point, and let the guy get beat up a lot. And that is my worst review of the whole series, because torturing the guy throughout, real torture, didn't go over well. However, the readers stuck with it and moved on, and overall the series went very, very well. So the multiple entry points. What Michael did was he hired, co-opted, collaborated, slave traded, whatever word you want to use, tickled tickled the fancy of a number of people to manage these separate breakouts: the Age of Magic, the Age of Expansion, Age of Madness, and then also created a new universe in order to practice. Hey, we have these skills, we did this, so let's create. And Kari created the Orsaran universe, and that became its own massive universe with some side stories as well. Because urban fantasy, just trying to get into urban fantasy, there were so many great UF writers that hey, let's take this. So lessons learned here, let's move them over here and try to establish a foothold in a hot genre. Because of course, genre busting, we'll call it. A lot of his readers didn't go over, but then he picked up a lot of new readers, and once again, new entry point. So coming back to the Kurtherian Gambit universe, I had my readership, and a number of people. I would always send Michael a note if somebody said, "Hey, I was reading your free trader and saw you were writing this other stuff, and I jumped in and I loved it, and then I went over to the first Kurtherian Gambit." So,
okay, just to be clear, just so I can mess you up on your response here, but also you would also send me anything that said, oh, I read Tender Henry, and I think that I like them more than Bethany Ann. You gave me that stuff all the time.
I did. I gave you every single one of them, all four. Warped people out there. Anyway, and so that also, and that's bringing in co-authors who have readership to then share and cross-pollinate the readers and expand the base and core readership, especially as you continue expanding cauliflower style out into a greater universe. One of the main things that Michael did, not at the beginning, but a little later in the game, was the insider team, the just-in-time readers. He had those folks, but then they became the keepers of canon. As I couldn't read all of Michael's books and then write my books too. So I was I ran afoul of canon, but only in the draft. The readers would catch stuff and say, "Hey, you can't do this," and I'd be like, "Oh shit, you're right, I can't." So let me fix that. And now they had different ways of fixing it. Their idea was trash the whole book and start over. And I was like, "Hey, if we had this one sentence right up front, would that work?" And they'd be like, "Oh, okay." So we went both ends of the extreme in our negotiations, shall we say, but also that expanded canon, because especially as we push the boundaries of the universal canon, it's Michael has so many books that being able to read all of them, memorize the canon, because look at people who argue Star Wars. There are over 400, 500 Star Wars books, and that's the real canon. You watch the three real movies, and you don't get all the canon. So it's a balancing act. Now, Michael doesn't have movies yet, but when he does, that canon is going to be from all of these books together. And then so it'll say some jagoff will have on his board lunch with Michael Anderle.
Which you can have if you come to SIFWA on Saturday over in Woodland Hills. We're all
May
going to be there.
18th. Not quite Burbank. Definitely not LA, even though it technically is LA. It's not LA. Woodland Hills, the local peasant. We had a sign-up sheet, so I think we're kind of full there. But we also have pens, 4-color pens, and I have a stack of those somewhere. Where's my 4-color pen?
Come get your free lunch and your 4-color pen.
20 bucks. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, go up a little bit. There we go. 2019.
Look at that.
Very
pretty.
Nice.
And here's that's the and from
very cool. Can't see it well.
Oh, that's last year's Vegas. But I went with a transparent red. But so entry points into the universe. Now, what do we do to bring people in? I advertised the hell out of Nomad 1, which is the first book in the series to cover that 150 years. We were talking about ads. That book has been out for 2 years and 3 months. And last month, I still spent $300 on ads outside of promotions. So, and actually 300 book ads for that one book that's been out for 2 years and 3 months. We ran some promotions on it, and we'll be running more promotions on the series. We had a follow-on series to that, Bad Company, which, Jesus, I think I spent $1,000 on ads for that, and that's been out for a year and a half. So the first book, we throw a lot of money at those first books in the spin-offs, the ancillary, the time fillers. Even though I run automatic ads on all of the books, because getting in front of people, who knows, when they see a book 6, somebody might say, "Hey, that's a cool cover," and go back, check the series page, and say, "Oh man, look at these other 5 books. Let me get one and try it." And you can never have enough exposure. Unless somebody wants to pay you to do something for exposure. So you can never have enough exposure of your books. I run targeted ads on all the books. Some of them may have some specific so then I'll run manual targeted keywords. Michael.
You're so you're breaking up for a minute, so I was going to allow your internet to catch back up a little bit. But a couple of things that you mentioned I'd like to talk about, which is timeline. Once you get a complicated universe, you really do need to have a visual timeline because the readers want to follow it in order. If you create like we did, where we had multiple series that crisscross in time, it becomes very difficult for the readers to figure out who and when they should be reading the next one. If you want to make life easier on yourself, then make all of your series follow each other. So it's very obvious and easy how to follow the series and the books. The other one is the fans can get overwhelmed with the universe size. So we would put a Cthulhu Gambit universe series, and then we were producing them so quickly, the fans were starting to get, I felt, a little pushback because of that, in order to say, hey, I don't even know where to get started, and therefore I'm too scared to get started. And so I felt that was a problem. So we even tried doing some series where we left the Cthulhu Gambit tag off so that people would come in and move forward from there. So you were back, Craig.
All right, good deal. Those are great points, especially the overwhelming part. When you have your core readership, and your core readership are whale readers, those people who read 3 to 5 books a week, we produce more books than that. So here's this, and especially the most disconcerting was some of the discussions a series came out from Justin Sloan, and it was that 150 year point at the end of that timeline. And Michael's series continued with his main character, but out in space at that 150 year point. And then I'm writing in between. So we had to make it all marry up. And people are reading, well, we already know what happens. And some people were like, I don't need to know what happens in the 150 years. You're wasting my time because I already know what happens. You're giving me the last chapter and then telling me I should buy the book. And we did get some pushback in that regard. But the post-apocalyptic books, they were so gripping and the tales so compelling. It's people fall in love with the characters, and that is the second question we wanted to address that we'll get to is how do you keep people in the books? Because when I got that, it really made it was really disconcerting for me and hard to be motivated to keep writing when people are like, hey, I already know what happens. You're wasting my time. When somebody tells me that I'm wasting their time, it doesn't make me want to do more of that. So writing the characters, but getting those little tidbits saying, hey, I like this. I like this series. This series, they speak to me. I like these characters. I like this relationship. I like the flaws that they have to overcome through friends, through working on it, through avoiding something that they know is a flaw. So wrote those characters as the family expanded. By the end, I had like 16 main characters, and it was just insane. So the books were over 100,000 words each towards the end, and the target was 60,000. And Michael's like, hey, you ever going to finish this book? I'm like, hey, it's only 90,000 words, man. Stop pushing me. And yeah, it's like, I'll be done by 95,000 words. Hey, here's your 117,000 word book, Michael. It did really well because it's in KU.
Never write 90,000 word books when 117,000 will do better.
That's right. That's right. And the just-in-time readers are like, hey, delete this chapter. You can delete this chapter. Delete that. It's too long. Oh my God. Yeah, whale readers are saying this is too long.
Things are going a little bit slow. I would just like to say, okay, so no, I won't. We could go down. At some point, we'll have to do one of these for the fans so they can understand some of the shenanigans. But speaking of shenanigans, one of the things that was a benefit of doing it the way we did is there were times when Justin would ask a question, or people that were in the future would ask a question, and we would make a decision right there on the phone or on Zoom or something, and then I would write, or you would write, or somebody would write in an earlier timeline, but a book they're writing right now, they would set it up. And so later the fans would be amazed that we had these situations where oh my gosh, he set that up in book 6 of his, and 200 years later they find it in book 3 of Justin's, not realizing that Justin's book was actually written first and that you would put stuff in to match it.
Oh yeah, little things like on one of Justin's covers, the Eiffel Tower was split in half and laying on the ground. And I'm like, hey, let's discuss how that happened, and worked it and worked everything in. It was getting very, very complex towards the end. Another series, the Boris Chronicles, that we had to work in, and holy crap, it was very, very complex. So the last book was tedious to write because of all the coordination with 4 other authors who wrote in that time and the stuff that they had already completed. So I had to create the circumstances of how that happened. So if you can write chronologically, write them in chronological order, your fans will be happier. Right now, it's perfect. It's great. People read all the way through, then they jump into this series and they do this, and it works great. But at the time, when they're reading World's Worst Day Ever plus 35 years, and then also the new book is coming out with World's Worst Day Ever plus 150 years. And also they're reading a book about Bethany Ann at 150 years after the world's were out in space. And it was the readers stayed with us because they loved Michael. They loved the Terry Henry characters. They loved Valerie from Justin. And then they were able to parse their mind and focus on, let's just read that character. This builds from the previous book. And so write the series. But if you can do chronological and maintain that timeline, I mean, I had a very focused timeline that I stuck to. The just-in-time readers were like gold because they they kept everything and made sure and said, hey, this happened. You were in Chicago on this date. They were in Chicago on this date. How come you guys never met? Oh, okay. Hey, let me add a couple sentences of, hey, we saw some look like a vampire running away or something like that, or running for cover, jumping in an air balloon and floating away. Something. We made it work. We made it work for the fans. And Michael said all along, next year, none of this stuff will matter because it will all already be blended in and blended together. They'll be reading in order, so it's going to make sense. And we did get there. So we had those entry points. We had Justin's very successful side series that he wrote outside of Kurtherian Gambit as an entry point. Oh, hey, Justin has more books. Craig has more books. And keeping those things as entry points, I think that the point I keep going back to is the first book. Whatever the first book is in a series, advertise the hell out of it, promote it, and especially as your series grows. And I learned this from the top science fiction authors. The top 20 is most of them publish maybe 2 to 4 books a year, and that's about it. But they have something on sale every single month. They're running something for free. They're running a box set for 99 cents. So they're getting book bubs. And you see somebody that publishes only 2 books a year getting book bubs almost every month. It's because they're exploiting their backlist. And this is something that I've put in a lot of Michael's books for book bubs and haven't gotten them. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's not a big enough name in the industry yet, but he'll keep working on that.
And we're not wide for the most part. We're not wide.
Yeah, so I've gotten 4, and all 4 were wide at the time.
So Justin got one for our book together, but they did not put it into, or it was very hard to pigeonhole what genre that book was in. So the return on that one wasn't stellar by any stretch of the imagination. It was profitable, but not stellar. There's one more that I think was received, but anytime that someone does a collaboration book pub, then both authors are kind of like on hiatus for the next however long, right? So you can't get a book pub. So if you get one with me, then I'm stuck on getting one for myself, and I just haven't paid attention to BookBub in years. But would it's not that I abhor them; it's just I really don't like getting rejected. So yeah,
yeah. It's not like we know people even, and we're still getting rejected. But that's just one element of many. So we're running promotions, and that's something that I've ratcheted up rather significantly. I'm running at least 2 promotions a month, just because I have the backlist. I can do that, and it's different genre, still hitting similar promotion sites, whether they're through written word media or Robin Reads or ENT, e-reader News Today, Book Barbarian, because I'm sci-fi, so Book Barbarian really targets sci-fi. Even hitting ratcheting up some ads, BookBub ads, Facebook ads, and Amazon advertising. It's not AMS anymore, by the way. Amazon advertising ads.
Okay, so I don't know if we've lost Craig totally. So let me see here.
I hear you.
Why would that happen? Was that me or not? Can anyone see me talking? Hello? Hello?
I hear you and I see you. I see me.
No, don't do that.
I think it might be you this time.
Okay. Oh, no, that wasn't to me.
I still have my internet.
So particular target number that a novel should be. I'm going to answer these questions as if anyone and everyone can still see me. We did 70,000 words. I chose 70,000 as being the smallest number that I could get away with and yet still charge, with a going rate. Presently, I would advise going up to 80 or 90,000 words minimum, just because that few thousand words is significant on your KENP. And then there is the opportunity that every time you get a first person into the series, they're going to read your first book. And therefore, that needs to be probably one of your biggest books. So I hope that gives a little bit of an answer to that. I mean, we charge $4.99 for our books right now. So it's also genre dependent. There are some genres where you can get away with 60,000 words pretty effectively, and others where they would crucify you if you didn't go at least 90, which is the new 60, and then 110, 120 is one of the better ones. So I'm going to ask Craigster, where the hell are you? So anyway, going on from some of that, now that I have your undivided attention related to these things, I should probably try to kick Craig off more often. Um, I did some series, and you're talking about, the how to get the people into them and get them acclimated to it. And the reality is that for me, at least for my writing, I'm what you call a discoverability writer. So we start with a very small premise, the characters in a particular location. I do not try to tell everybody what's going on because as a reader, you really want to discover along with the book. So, give me the major chord where I can feel comfortable. I'm in a fantasy setting. I'm in, a mystery setting or whatever, and then uncover, peel back the layers of the onion to give me more of what's going on. And that will work even, it doesn't matter what series, so that by the end of the series, which is where they're reading through, they will have a good awareness of what's happening. There's not really that many good reasons to explain to people the setting unless you have something so unique. And the challenge with something that is so unique is that the readers come into it and you're having to explain so much. And like, here's how the language works, and here's how the politics work, and here's how the religion works, and here's, by the ways, the technology, that it feels like work. It's like normally I go into books trying to be entertained. And so I want to feel comfortable that I understand the context of the story, and then I focus on the characters. So hopefully, that's an answer for that one as well. Um, I'm going to jump over here. I'm here. I see and hear you. Everyone sees and hears you. Okay, great. Da, da, da. Hmm. Then I'm going to jump off.
I think that's best, man.
Craig. Answer me real quick on Craig that if you can see and hear me, I'm going to jump off and jump back on.
Yeah, do that.
Yep, Craig is typing. All right, bye, folks.
There we are. But no, the universe, as the universe expanded, but also that was because of need. The readers demanded it, and this is Michael's readers who had, he had at that point 10 to 20,000 readers who were buying each book and he was putting them out one a month. And they were a voracious appetite for more stories. So then one a month became 3 a month, became 6 a month, became now recently 20 to 25 a month. And that's where now we've hit, okay, which ones, and focus specifically. And as Michael and I were talking before we started, can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay. As Michael and I were talking before we started, I was saying, hey, advertise the first books. And he said, advertise the most successful series. And he saw this with Or Saren, Brownstone, the Unbelievable Mr. Brownstone, took off. And so which of these multiple series, so then started funneling more people into Brownstone, who then went over to the other books, even though the others were the originals. So the focus your advertising and your efforts on the most successful series, but don't lose track of everything else within that universe, because backlist is money. Once you have the backlist, how do you exploit it? How do you make sure to get the value from it? And for me, my free trader, 3 years old, and there's the opportunity for to earn money. I think Kevin McLaughlin did one with his Satori universe, and has made, I think he made 15 grand last month on a series that has been out for a couple years. So how to package, how to send out your backlist, but also that universe. And you never know where it's going to start. Take the most successful one and leverage wherever you can find leverage.
Yeah, just speaking to the Kevin one, he did a post in 20 books, so you're more than welcome to go back and find that, and he details it.
Oh yeah. People write 20 books a month. Oh my God, no. I'm down to writing like four to six a year is all. Even though I always have something, and right now I have a bunch of books on the front burner, but still, 20 books. Stop it with the 20 book. It's 20 books, and Toto.
Yes.
And Toto to make 50,000 to retire to Cabo San Lucas comfortably. So whether you write them in 3 years, as we were just talking about, you exploit your backlist and make your money off your backlist. $750 per title per day is not overwhelming. 50,000 is a nice chunk of change if you live in Cabo San Lucas. Retire comfortably, check up some ads, do some things, write a book or two a year, keep adding to it, 24, 28, 30 books, and keep them producing revenue And that's what we're talking about. Anybody, I'm just going to start booting people who want to talk about 20 books a week or 20 books a year, because you're wrong.
Yeah, I've said that so many times that it almost makes me want to roll my eyes. It's like just do a little bit of research. But no, it was actually 3 books in November of 2015. When I created that term, I had just written 3 books in 45 days. It didn't seem illogical that I could get to 20 or 17 more by December of the following year. So 13 months later, could I get to 20? And it seemed like it was doable based on the fact that I'd done 3 in 1 month. And so that was the timeline for me personally, but that doesn't mean that that's the timeline for everybody. So it's not prescriptive, folks. It's not a recipe for success because, quite frankly, I hit my 50,000 a year in like 4 months and 6 books. So, I was wrong, and we can go forward from that. But
But you
so
still are going to retire to Cabo San Lucas.
yeah, if I stop upgrading where we're building, that would be helpful. I have very expensive dirt right now. I stand on
Nice.
the dirt and look at this great view. Now I need to get back in the car and go up to the hotel and go stay over there. One of these days, we're going to be able to sit there by the pool and drink our little martinis or whatever, since I don't really drink martinis, whatever, and just say, what a hell of a ride this has been.
Yes,
So,
wikis. We didn't produce them, but the fans produced a wiki for us. We had a couple different efforts. I think Michael paid somebody for a short while to produce a wiki. But you can have I think the biggest win of all would be to have your fans build the wiki, just like Wikipedia has all kinds of people building their wikis, because nobody can individually build, millions of wiki pages. But adding wikis, and then you run a contest. Hey, whoever added the best substance in the wiki, we'll send them a coffee cup. So merchandising in the Cortharian Gambit universe, I sent out a couple Age of Expansion mugs to folks for doing a thing with me last week. And it's all, yes, we throw the logos on through Society 6 and just send out on Sundays. They usually have a big discount, so 40% off and discount shipping. So $16, I send a mug to somebody. It got 100 comments on a post, and it keeps the readers engaged. So going to the universe gives you an opportunity to bring in more and keep more readers engaged, whether it's through an emotional connection, which I keep checking the clock because I got a yard team coming by today to hook me up with yard stuff, and I don't want to. I've got other stuff to do before that stuff, and we never have we run out of stuff to do. And I have actually written no words. I have that stuff to do too. Before I talk about my butt, let me pass it over to Michael.
Oh my God, yeah. I was harassing Craig yesterday. Oh, I was hoping you were going to forget that. So different things within it. So we started off this conversation with why are you doing it? Just recognize your why, because I think that's really important, especially because collaborations and collaborators are hard. You will match a couple of them, but frankly, you're going to find the more collaborators you have, the more often you're going to start having artistic differences of opinion. And there are some collaborators who run their universes as a very tight ship, which is probably, if you're going to do it one way or the other, lean toward tight. I lean toward loose. And so it was better on collaborative relationships, but it wasn't necessarily better on collaborative universe creation. So there are better ways that to do it, but just recognize that sometimes you're not going to get along. What is the out? What's the legal document say? Do you have a legal document? Kind of important to have that situation set up front. Who's the collaborative universe owner is the one who's probably going to be accepting all of the income. And we went through situations in the beginning before people really had enough experience with me where their spouses were wondering if I was going to pay my collaborators. This is a true story with C.M. Raymond and Ellie Brabant. I met them, the ladies, a little bit later, but they had legitimate concerns, ones that I never thought about because I knew I was paying them, so I never questioned it. But they didn't, and so you have situations where you have to wonder, what's your payment schedule? Collaborative universes now are a lot potentially easier to get paid if you're wide because Draft2Digital and Publish Drive both have facilities to help make that happen. For us, we're all inside KU. we're still running on a spreadsheet that Craig created, 18 months, 2 years ago. And it occasionally has a little bit of snafu if we don't give him the right information or it doesn't get updated. So the payment is a pain in the butt. So you just have to realize, what are you undertaking to do this, and how are you paying it out? Um, and then who's sharing covers? What are the costs? What a lot of people did not understand in 2017 is when I did this massive collaboration situation where we just blew up. We're putting out 2-3 books a week at that time, which was unheard of. And at least in the general indie community, but they didn't realize, well, I was funding this on $100,000 of personal income a month. So I had the monthly cash flow to fund this ability to grow so much, and others didn't. And so they're trying to figure out how to make this massive growth, and they weren't even asking the questions, well, how did this get paid? I'm not sure they assumed, like, well, he did it, I should do it. And it's like, if anyone had asked, I'm like, folks, I had a massive cash inflow before we did this big expansion. You're going to have to adjust based on your own personal abilities and capabilities and resources. So just be aware of these things. I don't, I encourage doing it. I think there's a great opportunity in accomplishing it. And so long as the readers want it. If they don't, you're only asking for more trouble.
I think probably the most important thing was the why. You got to have the readership. Bringing collaborators in also, you have to be able to handle that, because you have these collaborators. Now all of a sudden you go from buying 2 covers a month to buying 20. And because people said, oh, hey, what you said all these costs on me. I mean, I've published 26, 28 books since December 11th. And people are like, well, what's the cost? You should be getting the revenue. 28, multiply 28 times editing. 28 times 60,000 words is a number. And then
it's a big number.
It's a big number. And 28 times covers. That's also a big number, especially when you have some top end covers. I have covers that cost anywhere from 100 to 700 each. So 28 times that, times editing, times ads. Like I said, 300 on an ad last month. And I pulled that up, and I was surprised. I didn't even realize that I had spent $300 on a Free Trader One ad last month, and I did. So yeah, you look and you say, "Holy crap! Look at that number. Oh, that must be lifetime." Oh no, buddy, that's just last month. So yeah, that's understand all of that, and it was reader demand. So yes, we do have that cash flow coming in because of the sales from 2 months ago and everything else. But for me, promotions, if you have multiple entry points, that gives you multiple opportunities for different promotions. Let's do a 99¢. Let's do a box set. And I'll cover box sets and things like that in my release strategies book that I have moved to the front burner. I'm going to do that one next. I hope to finish it by the end of May. June, we will beta read it, and I'll send PMs to beta. Please don't volunteer to beta read, because I'll get like 1,000. I've already gotten a significant number. Please no. I'll just ask some people, keep it a small group, and because I'm looking for experience, both those who haven't released as well as those who've released a lot, and make sure that I'm not out of bounds on anything, that I am hitting correctly for what I know, which is science fiction. I've got Michael's urban fantasy experience to tap, and that's something we'll be doing in the Nebs while we're down in almost LA. Talking through some of that stuff and releases. What was good, what was bad, what are some good lessons. I want to talk pros and cons of all the different strategies. And then going back to the well, next up is Executioner 6, which is one of the main offshoot series from the Kurtherian Gambit, because the readers still want Kurtherian Gambit books, even though a lot of the new books are in different universes and elsewhere. So keeping the fans you can never go wrong keeping the fans happy.
Yeah. That's one of my jobs for the next week, is I have to look at all of the different universes, fan stories, type of stories, and lay them out what's going on over the next 6 months. And because Kurtherian Gambit in a while was the behemoth, And frankly, we squirrel as well. We look around things. It's like, oh, I'd rather go do work on this. Finally, you release 21 books and you go, I'd like to go play somewhere else. And in doing so, we stayed away from Arthurian Gambit for a week, and then a month, and then 6 months, and then everybody else's stories also started doing atrophying, and then all of a sudden we look around and go, holy crap, we have like nothing coming out in Arthurian Gambit. Have we lost our damned minds? And apparently we have, and so we're having to correct that and move forward. So Craig's comes out, like you said, on Monday. And congratulations, sir. There's something going on Monday I think you should mention. What is going on?
Monday. Oh, actually, that's tomorrow. My wife and I 20th anniversary. So one thing that she is constantly on me about, and I'm sure all of you can understand because you've seen me on all hours, day and night, is to disconnect. So tomorrow around noon, we are disconnecting, driving out to Chena Hot Springs for a 1-day getaway where we're disconnected because you have to be. There's nothing out there. So I actually set my newsletter up already for Monday. And Monday morning, I have a huge release. Bad Company 6, right? The standalone. It's got Bethany Ann. It's a crossover, and I won't be here.
I plan that.
But Michael is going to cover me. He's gonna or one of these fine folks. I might ask them.
Yes, either James Patterson, George Lucas, or J.K. Rowling. One of them will pimp you on some obtuse social media with nobody there.
Well, so, I might. I probably should give Bruce Willis a call because
I think so. He's very apropos. He's very genre.
Well, and he loves Girl Scout cookies and sending them to the troops in the field as I have done as well. That's cool because I can't imagine being over there. I never got Girl Scout cookies while I was over there, but if I was and I did, I would love that person forever. No shit.
Did we answer all of the questions, or hopefully all the questions to the best of our abilities? We have maybe 5 minutes before we need to head out.
I think we answered the big one because the universe. That's one. When I saw that question, I was like, this is like a 12-part question. But it was a good question, and a good question, especially for you, because you have managed that universe that grew and grew and grew and has roughly Arthurian Gambit itself is 120 books, maybe.
Oh no, it's probably 180 to 220 in that range.
So that's a lot of that's Star Wars level of complexity in managing. And Michael is an indie author, even though I publish with him. You can say, well, that's a traditional publishing right now. It's indies being indies.
We're indies together singing INDIEP.
But who better to talk about it than somebody who has 200 books in a universe and then developed it on the fly as he went. So talking about that and the entry points and how we are looking at and managing bringing in new readers, and discoverability that's the word for 2019. And Michael declared that last year, and we're still trying to figure that out. Exposure doesn't pay the bills, but being discovered does.
Oh, nice point.
We can bring one new reader in who loves this book. We don't have short series, so one new reader that comes in and loves this book, you're going to get paid for that one book, even if you only charge 99 cents. You still get your 35 cents. It's more than you had yesterday, especially on a series that's been out for a while. And then the read through and the buy through. Now all of a sudden, this one reader is worth $300. Because if somebody with KU and is retired and is reading 2 books a day,
mm-hmm.
we are going to get a big payout, even at a 0.004. And if it actually goes up to 0.005, even more so. That's like a gazillion % increase. That's lawyer math if you haven't figured it out. I just make up numbers.
So,
go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was going to say, so, we have also the experience of with Martha Carr, that universe is built a little bit differently. And then I've done it a few other times. So just from the standpoint of how many universes LMBPN has been a part of now, it's over 10. And so, we do have that. And these are things that I can talk about certainly in Vegas when we get there, or if you happen to see us in the next few spots that we drop into. Or just because Martha's presently up in Chicago at the Somewhere Book Show conference, I suggest asking her and she will be shocked to find out if anyone asks her and why, and just harass her. That would be, I think, fucking hilarious. So
And be prepared to lock in the next 2 hours of your life. So
yeah.
if you ask a good question, guaranteed.
Yeah. So and don't let her take you to Spanish or Mexican food. That you
She
might
tried
die.
to kill me. She tried to kill me once.
I like the fact she can't argue for herself right now.
Weapon of choice, Mexican food. I didn't even get food poisoning. I just almost died. That's all.
He stood up from bed and collapsed.
I can't breathe. There's food in my lungs. Oh my God. So the universe, I think next time we'll talk about emotional engagement. Michael gave a whole class on that at 20 Books 2017 in Vegas on emotional engagement. It is the key to long-term success. And one other thing, in all of the books that Michael, in Michael's universe, and we'll talk just Catherian Gambit, the one I'm a part of, always a happy ending, always a complete story within that one book. So there might be open loops, but there's no cliffhangers where you don't know if the character lived or died. And so all of that at the end of, and they live because these are feel-good stories.
And we paid a shit ton of money for the models, so
yeah. I have Terry Henry and Shar on 17 different books. So hell yeah, they're gonna live. we have like 2,400 pictures to choose from. So, but that also goes to economy of scale. Initially, the photo shoot, we're looking at the first 3 covers and spending $2,400 on the first 3 covers. But guess what? By cover 17, that one's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's a $200 cover. We're good. $250.
Yeah, $250. All custom because hey, we got the pictures. So there we are. It's about been on for 55 minutes. We've pontificated a lot. Listen to Michael's words even when he was on his monologue, even though you could all hear and see both of us. I let him go. I didn't interrupt because he was on a roll.
Hey man, there's a freaking chat right here. You could chat here, but where did you put it? You put it in the fucking other browser.
Oh, geez, that's right. Chat. I can kick. Look at that loop. Oh yeah, you sent a note. Where are you? I guess I could have answered there.
That would have been really convenient. Seeing how this takes up my whole spot, and I had to finally go, wait a minute, could he be over there? And so I have to go over there. Now, mind you, in all honesty, which I abhor at the moment because this is going to mean you're going to give me shit. I fucked this up because I went to Safari, and I'm in Chrome right now. I went to Safari to go check on was anyone having any questions, and somehow going to Safari blocked you over here in Chrome. I didn't know that, so I come back, you're gone. I'm like, oh shit, oh he's gone. Oh no, what? Dance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about cliffhangers and serials? Fuck no. No cliffhangers ever.
No,
or flashbacks. Don't do flashbacks. Those are bad.
Serial is as opposed to series.
Yes, do you have any serial? That's when I did the serials. I've done 3 different ones now, and the cliffhangers are not good. And open loops are okay. And there's the subtle difference is the main conflict is resolved, and the joy and happiness of the reader is intact at the end of the story.
Probably. Hashtag probably.
Hashtag probably. That's right. I mean, nothing is ever, but I personally won't ever have a cliffhanger at the end of a book unless I'm releasing the next book right exactly then. And that might be a hook. Hey, here, I've got it. Here's the next book. But I
call it part 1 and part 2 if I release them same day.
Yeah, and it's still I still wouldn't do that because a lot of readers would be like, oh man, nice bait and switch. You sell me a whole story that's not a whole story.
I'm like, so it's 400,000 words. I get to cut it in 2.
Yeah, and that's if you can set it up so you resolve the main conflict, you can have the overall story arc, but resolve that main conflict in the one book, and that's one thing that we've done consistently throughout, and they are way good. We've had good sell through, good buy through, good read through. All right.
Peace out.
Peace, fellow humans. We're back.
And aliens, just to clarify.
Just in case.
Non-species specific.
Not making a claim that there is or is not.
But for those that are watching, we